There comes a moment when you are simply tired of being dragged around by your own emotions. Tired of waking up already tense because of a message you have not yet received. Tired of replaying conversations in your head until they become heavier than what was actually said. Tired of building your entire day around how someone looked at you, what they did not do, or what might happen tomorrow. On the outside, your life might look normal. You go to work. You answer messages. You laugh when you are supposed to laugh. You function. But inside, there is a constant storm. Your mood is fragile. Your peace depends on approval, on outcomes, on how well you feel you are doing compared to the script in your mind. You already know this is unsustainable. You already know that living this way makes you reactive, anxious, and exhausted. The painful part is not that you lack information. You have read things. You have heard that you should let go, care less, set boundaries. The painful part is that when the emotion hits, when the fear rises, when the person pulls away or the plan falls apart, all that knowledge disappears. Your nervous system takes over. You react. You cling. You spiral. Then you regret it later. The truth is, your problem is not a lack of knowledge. It is a lack of emotional distance, a lack of practice detachment, a lack of alignment between who you say you want to be and how you actually respond when your feelings are loud. You have practiced being attached to people, attached to outcomes, attached to stories about yourself, attached to being understood, being chosen, being seen a certain way. You have practiced making your inner state dependent on what you cannot fully control. And every time you obey that pattern, you teach your mind that your emotions are your master, not your messengers. This audiobook is about unlearning that. This is not a guide to becoming cold, numb, or indifferent. That is not emotional detachment. That is avoidance. That is fear wearing armor. The art of emotional detachment is something different. It is the capacity to stay connected to life, to people, to your own heart without being owned by any of it. It is caring deeply while holding lightly. It is being able to love without losing yourself, to pursue goals without confusing them with your worth, to feel fully but act from clarity instead of compulsion. This audiobook is for you if you are tired of chasing people who do not choose you with the same intensity. If you are tired of feeling shattered when plans change or things go wrong. If you are tired of your mood being a reflection of other people's behavior instead of your own principles. If you are ready to stop negotiating your calm with the world. You will learn how to see your emotional attachments clearly, what they are really costing you, and why you secretly cling to them. You will learn to separate your identity from your feelings, to create a gap between impulse and action, to set boundaries without guilt, and to design a life that does not constantly pull you back into chaos. You will learn how to stay steady when people disappoint you, when outcomes fail you, and when your old patterns try to drag you back. Change will not come from waiting to feel ready. It will come from repetition, from responsibility, from the quiet, disciplined practice of choosing distance instead of drama, clarity instead of chaos, and identity instead of impulse. This is not about perfection. It is about direction, about who you become, one detached decision at a time. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Prison of Attachment. There is a moment when you notice how easily your entire inner world is hijacked by something outside of you. One text, one delayed reply, one offhand comment, one small rejection. It is almost embarrassing how quickly your mood shifts, how deeply your body reacts, how loudly your thoughts start racing. This is attachment. Attachment is not simply caring. It is when your sense of safety, worth, or peace becomes tied to something you cannot fully control. It is when you feel you must have a particular person, a specific response, a certain outcome, or else you cannot be okay. It is when your nervous system treats inconvenience like disaster, distance like abandonment, and uncertainty like a threat. You have felt this before. You refresh your messages waiting for their answer, and every minute of silence feels like proof that you do not matter. You replay your last interaction, analyzing every word, making yourself responsible for their mood, their reaction, their absence. You watch circumstances closely, as if staring harder will make them bend to your will. Your mind builds a prison out of what if, why not, and what did I do wrong. The hidden cost of this is not only emotional. Attachment steals your time, your focus, your capacity to act from your own values. You check your phone instead of doing the work in front of you. You abandon your plans because you are waiting to see what someone else will do. You hesitate to take risks because you are terrified of feeling the pain of failure. Your life shrinks around what you fear losing. Most people do not realize how attached they are, because attachment often looks like love, dedication, ambition, or loyalty. But love does not take your freedom. Dedication does not erase your center. Ambition does not require your self-worth as payment. Attachment does. The truth is, you are not an emotional person by nature. You have simply practiced living from attachment instead from identity. You have allowed your mind to believe that your peace lives out there, in other people's hands, in specific outcomes, in things going your way. So of course, you are constantly monitoring, managing, and overthinking. You are trying to control the source of your safety. Emotional detachment begins with seeing this clearly, not as a moral failure, but as a pattern that you can choose to interrupt. Start by asking very directly, what am I attached to right now? When you feel that familiar anxiety, that tension in your chest, that restless urge to check, to fix, to chase, pause and name it. I am attached to this person's approval. I am attached to this plan working out exactly as imagined. I am attached to not being misunderstood. Naming it pulls it out of the fog. It turns a vague, overwhelming feeling into something you can observe. Then ask, what am I afraid will happen if I don't get this? Underneath your attachment, there is always fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being unimportant, fear of losing control, fear of feeling old pain again. When you see the fear, you see why you cling. You see that you are not just waiting for a message, you are trying to protect yourself from a deeper wound. This is where detachment begins, not by forcing yourself not to care, but by refusing to let your fear quietly drive everything. You will not break the prison of attachment in one dramatic act. You will not suddenly wake up free. Instead, you will practice micro-detachments. You will catch yourself about to check your phone for the 10th time and stop. You will feel the urge to send another long message explaining yourself and choose silence. You will hear the familiar story in your mind telling you that if this person pulls away, it means you are unlovable. And you will quietly say, no, that is just a story. Each time you do this, you are building a new identity. Someone who notices attachment but does not bow to it. Someone who experiences emotion but does not hand over the keys. Your emotions will resist. Your mind will insist this time is different, more urgent, more dangerous. That is the voice of the prison. You do not argue with it. You simply do not obey. This is not about cutting off your feelings. It's about reclaiming the space between your feelings and your actions. It's about realizing that you can feel the pull of attachment and still choose distance. You can feel the fear and still choose self-respect. You can feel the longing and still choose to keep your center. Today, your task is simple. See your attachments. Name them. Feel what they cost you. Do not look away. When you feel the panic rise, when you reach for the familiar chains, pause and remember, you built this prison, one choice at a time, and you will walk out of it the same way, one detached decision at a time. Chapter 2. The Hidden Payoff of Overfeeling. Most people assume they suffer only because they are unlucky or too sensitive. They do not realize that part of them is deeply committed to staying where they are. Not consciously, not maliciously, but emotionally, there is a hidden payoff to letting your feelings run your life. When you are dominated by emotion, you always have an explanation. You are overwhelmed, so you do not have to take action. You are hurt, so you do not have to set a boundary. You can simply resent. You are anxious, so you do not have to risk failure. You can stay in the safety of planning and worrying. Your suffering becomes both your excuse and your identity. You have felt the strange comfort of this. The intensity of emotion makes you feel alive. The drama gives your days a storyline. The crisis pulls people's attention toward you. You get to say, "I can't help it. This is just how I am." Instead of facing the quiet, confronting truth, you are choosing to obey your feelings. The hidden payoff of overfeeling is that it protects you from responsibility. Responsibility is uncomfortable. It means you cannot blame your nervous system for every reaction. It means you cannot keep repeating the same argument, replaying the same breakup, nursing the same resentment, and calling it processing. It means you have to admit that you are continuing certain patterns not because you were forced to, but because part of you does not want to let go. Why? Because letting go feels like loss. When you detach, you lose the intensity you were used to. You lose the story that you are the victim of everyone and everything. You lose the permission slip to stay where you are. Emotional chaos may be painful, but it is familiar. It feels safer than the unknown calm you have not yet learned to trust. The cost of this payoff is your life. Overfeeling steals your energy from what actually matters. Instead of building discipline, you build narratives. Instead of strengthening your character, you strengthen your reactions. You repeat arguments in your head that no longer exist in reality. You rehearse being hurt more often than you practice being grounded. Your focus is on your internal storms, not on the actions that would change your reality. The truth is, emotions are not the enemy. Your addiction to emotional intensity is. Emotional detachment is the decision to stop chasing intensity and start choosing stability. To stop feeding drama and start feeding discipline. To accept that calm may feel boring at first because you have been living off emotional spikes. You have been conditioned to think that if your heart is not racing, nothing important is happening. Ask yourself, what am I getting out of staying this attached? What do I avoid by staying in this emotional chaos? You may find that your attachment to a painful relationship lets you avoid facing your fear of being alone. Your attachment to anger around performance lets you avoid doing the work in small, consistent steps. As long as you're in crisis, you do not have to build. Seeing this clearly can feel uncomfortable. It should. You are touching the place where your mind has been negotiating with your pain. The shift begins when you decide that the hidden payoff is no longer worth the obvious cost. You start by refusing to glorify your own suffering. You stop romanticizing being the one who feels everything so deeply as if it were a badge of honor. Feeling deeply is not a problem. Being ruled by what you feel is. You begin to see that your emotional storms are not proof of how real something is. They are often proof of how practiced your reactions have become. Next time you feel yourself spiraling, do one simple thing. Pause and ask, if I let this go, if I chose to detach right now, what would I be left with? Maybe you would be left with empty time you are not used to, with silence instead of constant mental noise, with the responsibility to take one small action instead of indulging a big feeling. That can feel unsettling, almost like withdrawal. Because it is. You are withdrawing from an identity built around being overwhelmed. Do not rush to fill that space. This is where the art of emotional detachment lives. in the gap between your old intensity and your new steadiness. In that gap, you will be tempted to go back to what is familiar, to send that message, to restart the argument, to overanalyze the situation for the 100th time. In that moment, remember, comfort feels safe, growth feels dangerous, chaos feels alive. Calm can feel empty when you are not used to it, but in that emptiness, you will finally have room to build something else. Character, discipline, a life not built on emotional emergencies. You break the addiction to overfeeling by practicing underreacting. Not pretending you don't care, but choosing not to feed every spark until it becomes a fire. You notice the first wave of emotion, and instead of amplifying it with thoughts and stories, you let it pass. You breathe. You observe. You act from principle instead of from pain. Every time you do this, you lose a bit of the old payoff. You gain something more valuable, self-respect. You are not powerless in the face of your emotions. You have simply been investing your energy into feeling instead of into choosing. Emotional detachment is that reversal. It is the steady decision to value your peace over your drama, your direction over your intensity. You will miss the chaos at first. That's normal. But in time, you will begin to notice something far stronger than emotional spikes, the quiet power of not being easily moved. Chapter 3. You are not your emotions. You already know the phrases, I am anxious, I am angry, I am broken. You say them without thinking. You merge your identity with whatever you are feeling in the moment. Your emotions do not just visit, they define. This is the root of your lack of detachment. When you believe you are your emotions, you have no distance from them. If you are anxious, then trying to be calm feels like betraying yourself. If you are hurt, then releasing your anger feels like erasing your truth. If you are resentful, then choosing peace feels like letting someone get away with it. You treat your feelings as facts and as your fundamental self. But you are not your emotions. You are the one who experiences them. Emotions are like weather. They move through. They shift. They rise and fall depending on conditions. They can be intense and overwhelming, but they are not permanent. They are not you. When you sit outside in the rain, you do not become the rain. You are simply in its presence. The same is true for sadness, fear, attraction, jealousy, excitement. Emotional detachment is the practice of remembering this in real time. Most people wait until the emotion passes to see it clearly. They look back and say, I overreacted, or I was not thinking straight. That is awareness after the fact. It is useful, but limited. Detachment trains you to have awareness during the emotion. To notice, this is anxiety instead of I am anxiety. To say, part of me feels afraid instead of I am a fearful person. Language matters. Your words shape your perception. When you shift from I am to I feel or I notice, you create a gap, a small but powerful space where choice becomes possible. Next time you feel a strong emotion, don't rush to analyze the situation. Start simpler. Name what you feel as if you were describing the weather. There is anger here. There is disappointment here. There is jealousy here. Say it out loud if you can. This is not denial. It is acknowledgement without fusion. Then add one more sentence. And this will move. You may not believe it at first, but say it anyway. You are reminding your nervous system that no state is permanent, that you have lived through this feeling before, that the story your mind is telling you, it will always be like this, is not reality. It is a habit. The mind resists this separation because it craves solid ground, even if that ground is negative. I am anxious feels more certain than, "I am experiencing anxiety right now, and I can choose how to respond." Certainty, even painful certainty, can feel safer than freedom. Detachment is choosing freedom over familiar pain. As you practice this, you will start to see patterns. You will notice that certain emotions show up in predictable situations. Rejection triggers old fear. Criticism triggers shame. Silence triggers insecurity. Your emotions are not random, they're conditioned responses. This is empowering. What is conditioned can be reconditioned. Once you name the emotion and acknowledge its impermanence, you ask a different question. Given that this feeling is here, who do I want to be right now? Not how do I get rid of this feeling, not how do I make them fix it. Who do I want to be? What kind of person do I choose to be in the presence of this emotion? This is where identity enters. You might decide, I want to be someone who stays calm when plans change. I want to be someone who doesn't chase when someone pulls away. I want to be someone who tells the truth even when I'm afraid. Your identity decides what you tolerate from yourself. If you see yourself as an anxious person, you will tolerate behaviors that reinforce anxiety, checking repeatedly, rehearsing worst-case scenarios, over-explaining. If you see yourself as a grounded person who sometimes experiences anxiety, you will begin to act accordingly. You will feel the anxiety and still choose to do the next right thing. Action first, emotion later. You will not always feel aligned with the identity you choose. That's normal. Identity leads, emotion follows. When you repeatedly act as the person you want to become, even when it feels uncomfortable, you are rewiring your relationship with your emotions. They become signals, not commands. This is not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about refusing to let your feelings dictate your principles. There will be days when sadness is heavy, when anger flares quickly, when old triggers catch you off guard. In those moments, remember the simple sequence. Name, notice, choose. Name the emotion without merging with it. Notice that it rises in your body, moves through sensations, and changes with time. Choose one small action that reflects your chosen identity, not your current feeling. Maybe that action is not sending the impulsive message. Maybe it's going for a walk before continuing the conversation. Maybe it's speaking calmly instead of raising your voice. These are small choices, but they are the bricks of emotional detachment. Every time you say, I feel, instead of I am, you take one step back from the edge. Every time you choose an action that aligns with who you want to be, not with what you feel in the moment, you strengthen the part of you that is bigger than any emotion. You are not your feelings. You are the one who decides what they mean and what you will do next. Chapter 4. The Discipline of Distance. There is a moment, right before you react, when you could choose differently. You rarely notice it, because your emotions move faster than your awareness. The message appears and your fingers are already typing. The criticism lands and your voice is already raised. The discomfort arises and your hand is already reaching for distraction. Emotional detachment lives in that small, easily missed space. Most people believe that their reactions are automatic, that there is no real choice between feeling and acting. That is not true. There is always a gap, even if it is tiny. The art of detachment is the discipline of widening that gap. Distance is not only physical, it is mental, emotional, and temporal. It is the choice to slow down the link between stimulus and response, to put space between what happens and what you do about it. You have experienced the consequences of having no distance. You send messages you regret. You say things you cannot unsay. You make decisions from panic that create long-term complications. You agree to things you do not want. You lash out. You cling. You withdraw completely. Then, when the emotion settles, you are left with the damage. The hidden cost is that you stop trusting yourself. Each outburst, each impulsive decision, each emotional spiral reinforces the belief that you are at the mercy of your feelings. This belief is the opposite of detachment. Detachment requires faith in your own capacity to pause. The truth is, you do not need to feel calm to create distance. You need discipline. Discipline is not dramatic. It is not about grand gestures. It is about small, consistent interruptions of your usual pattern. It is the decision, made again and again, to tolerate the discomfort of not reacting immediately. You can start with something as simple as implementing a delay. When you feel triggered, tell yourself 10 minutes. 10 minutes before you respond. 10 minutes before you check. 10 minutes before you make the call. In those 10 minutes, your task is not to figure everything out. It is to breathe and watch the wave. Notice how intense the urge feels at first, how your mind insists that something terrible will happen if you do not act immediately. Then notice how, minute by minute, the urgency shifts. It may not disappear, but it changes. The wave crests and begins to fall. This is your first direct experience of distance. The more you practice this, the more you will see that very few situations actually require instant emotional reactions. Most of what feels urgent is not truly urgent. It is your attachment screaming. It is your fear wanting immediate relief. You do not have to give it what it wants. Distance can also be physical. When a conversation becomes heated, when you feel your body tensing and your voice rising, step away. Say, I need a moment. I will come back to this. Then actually leave the room. Go to the bathroom. Step outside. Feel your feet on the ground. Breathe. You are not avoiding the issue. You are protecting the quality of your response. You will feel guilt the first few times you do this. You have been trained to equate instant responses with caring, with responsibility, with strength. But instant reactions are often the opposite of strength. They are surrender to impulse. Detachment is strength in slow motion. Distance is also mental. It is the practice of zooming out. When you are in the middle of an emotional storm, your mind narrows. All you can see is this situation, this person, this moment. You forget everything else about your life. You forget your values, your long-term goals, your previous experiences of surviving difficult feelings. In that moment, ask yourself, if I were watching this from the outside, what would I see? Imagine you are watching yourself and the other person from a distance, like a scene in a movie. You hear the tone, see the body language, notice the tension. From that vantage point, what becomes clear? Maybe you see that both people are triggered, that the real issue is deeper than the current argument, that your urge to respond is more about your fear than about what was actually said. This perspective is not about judging yourself. It's about reclaiming your ability to observe rather than just inhabit. With time, distance becomes a habit, not a cold withdrawal, but a steady pause. You feel a surge of jealousy, and you don't immediately search for proof. You feel an impulse to overshare, and you don't instantly hit send. You feel a wave of anger, and you don't automatically attack or shut down. You might think this will make you less authentic. It will not. Authenticity is not about unfiltered reaction. It is about aligned response. When you give yourself distance, you are more able to speak and act from who you truly are, not from the temporary storm passing through you. The discipline of distance can feel mechanical at first. Timers, deliberate pauses, rehearsed phrases like, I need time to think about this. That's fine. You are training your nervous system. You are building a new reflex. Eventually, the pause becomes natural. The distance becomes part of you. There will be moments when you fail, when you react before you remember the gap. Don't turn that into another story about how you will never change. That is just attachment to your old identity talking. Notice it, name it, then, as soon as you can, create distance again. Even after the reaction, you can still step back, breathe, and choose your next action with more awareness. Emotional detachment is not about never feeling strong emotions. It's about never letting them dictate your first move. You do not need permission to pause. You do not need the other person to understand. You do not need to explain your distance in detail. You need only to practice it, consistently, until it becomes the new normal. You responding with intention instead of reacting from attachment. Chapter 5. Boundaries, the invisible wall. Most people think of boundaries as something external, as words you say to others. Don't talk to me like that. I can't do this for you. I need space. Those words matter, but emotional detachment begins with a boundary you build inside your own mind, a clear line between what is yours and what is not. Without boundaries, other people's emotions become your own. Their anger feels like your failure. Their disappointment feels like your responsibility. Their chaos becomes your constant environment. You absorb everything. You take it in. You carry it. You know this feeling. Someone close to you is upset, and suddenly your whole body is tense. You cannot rest until you have fixed it, explained it, soothed it. Your day bends around their mood. You push aside your own needs, your own plans, because you feel pulled into their emotional universe. If they are not okay, you cannot be okay. This is not compassion. This is enmeshment. The cost is subtle but enormous. Your sense of self erodes. You start to define your worth by how well you can keep others comfortable. You become hyper-aware of signs of displeasure, distance, or disappointment. You adjust constantly, often without being asked. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay when you want to leave. You give more than you have and resent it later. The truth is, you are not responsible for other people's inner world. You are responsible for how you show up in it. Boundaries are the invisible walls that protect your emotional detachment. Not walls that keep love out, but walls that keep you from dissolving into everyone around you. Walls with doors. You decide what enters, you decide what stays. Inner boundaries start with a simple recognition. Their feelings are theirs. My feelings are mine. When someone is upset, your first instinct may be to ask, "What did I do? How do I fix this?" Detachment asks a different question. Is this actually mine to carry? Sometimes it is. If you have acted poorly, if you have broken a promise, responsibility is yours. But many times, the emotion you are reacting to arises from factors beyond you, their history, their expectations, their own attachments. You can care without carrying. Practically, this means that when someone around you is in a bad mood, you do not automatically mirror it. You acknowledge it. I see that you are upset. You may offer support. Is there anything I can do? But if they decline, or if the situation is not yours to solve, you let it be. You do not abandon your entire day to manage their feelings. This will feel selfish at first. It is not. It is self-respect. External boundaries are how you communicate this self-respect. You might say, "I'm not available to talk about this right now. I need some time." Or, "I understand you are angry, but I won't stay in this conversation if I am being insulted." Or, "I can help with this, but not today." These sentences are simple, but they are heavy if you are not used to them. You will feel guilt when you start enforcing boundaries. You have practiced making yourself available at all costs. You have equated your open doors with your goodness. Closing a door, even briefly, can trigger fear. They will leave. They will be disappointed. They think I don't care. Remember, boundaries test relationships. The ones that are built on your self-erasure will not survive your self-respect. That is painful, but it is also necessary. Emotional detachment means you are willing to risk the loss of relationships that require the loss of yourself. You may worry that boundaries will make you cold. They will not. They will make your care cleaner. When you are not exhausted from constantly crossing your own lines, your generosity becomes a choice, not an obligation. You can give without resentment. You can listen without trying to rescue. You can stay present without disappearing. Building boundaries is a practice. You will not do it perfectly. You will still overextend sometimes, still say yes when you mean no, still get pulled into dynamics that drain you. The difference is that now, instead of seeing this as just how things are, you will recognize it as a boundary issue. You will feel the cost in your body, a heaviness, a tension, a quiet anger at yourself. Use that feeling. It is feedback. It is your system saying a line was crossed. Next time, draw it sooner. Emotional detachment is not armor. It is architecture. You are building a life in which your emotional state is not constantly at the mercy of others' moods, choices, or demands. Boundaries are the walls of that life. They create room for you to exist as a separate whole person. You do not have to announce every boundary with dramatic declarations. Many boundaries are silent. Not responding immediately, not explaining yourself excessively, not engaging in familiar arguments, not attending every emotional emergency you are invited to. Your absence from certain patterns is also a statement. Over time, as you hold your boundaries, people will adjust. Some will resist, push, test, accuse. Others will respect, adapt, and meet you at this new level. Those who cannot tolerate your detachment were never truly relating to you. They were relating to what you provided. Your task is not to manage their reaction. Your task is to remain behind your invisible wall, with the door open to what nourishes you and closed to what destroys your peace.
Chapter 6. Detaching from people. There is a specific kind of pain that comes from being too attached to another person. It is not the pain of love. Love by itself is not painful. It is the pain of needing them to behave a certain way so you can feel okay. It is the pain of organizing your entire inner world around whether they choose you, understand you, stay with you. You know how this feels. You check if they have seen your message. You adjust your words so they do not pull away. You imagine their day, your mind living more in their world than in your own. When they are distant, you feel empty. When they are close, you feel safe. For a moment. Then the fear returns. What if they leave? What if they change their mind? This is not connection. This is attachment wearing the mask of love. The hidden belief beneath this pattern is simple. Without this person, I am not complete. Without their approval, I am not enough. As long as you believe this, emotional detachment will feel like betrayal, because detachment means loosening your grip. It means accepting that people are not possessions and that you cannot control how they feel, think, or move. The truth is, you do not own anyone. You do not own their attention, their time, their devotion, their commitment. You also do not own their feelings. You cannot force them to see you, to understand you, to care in the way you want. Any attempt to do so, through pleasing, pleading, manipulating, overgiving, only deepens your own prism. Detaching from people does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop confusing their choices with your worth. Practically, this begins with noticing how much of your mental life is centered around them. How often do your thoughts return to what they are doing, what they meant, what you should say? How many decisions are you making to become more likable, more acceptable, more right in their eyes? Gently, you start to turn that attention back towards yourself, not in self-obsession, but in self-ownership. You ask, what do I want? How do I feel? What would I do today if their opinion did not decide my mood? This can feel empty at first, because you have been living as an echo. Now you are being asked to speak in your own voice. Detachment means allowing people to be exactly who they are, not who you hope they will become. You stop arguing with their reality. If someone consistently shows you that they are not reliable, you believe that. If someone avoids commitment, you stop imagining them as a committed partner one day. If someone disrespects your boundaries, you stop hoping they will magically change without consequences. Acceptance is not resignation. It is clarity. It gives you a real basis for decision. Once you accept who someone is right now, you can ask a very clean question. Can I live peacefully with this as it is? Not with who they might become, not with who they were on their best day, but with who they are consistently. If the answer is no, detachment may require distance, not because they are evil, but because your attachment to them is eroding you. This is one of the hardest parts of emotional detachment. You must be willing to walk away from what is unhealthy, even if you are still attached, even if part of you still hopes, even if your feelings have not caught up to your decision. Action first, emotion later. Leaving or loosening a bond does not require you to stop loving someone. It requires you to stop sacrificing yourself on the altar of that love. You can love from afar. You can love with boundaries. You can love without daily contact. Detachment separates love from ownership, care from compulsion. You will grieve. You will feel the urge to reach out, to check in, to go back. That is normal. Your nervous system is adjusting to the loss of a pattern, not just a person. During this time, your task is to hold steady, to allow the waves of longing and loneliness without turning them into action that reopens the same wound. Tell yourself the truth. I miss them. I wish it could be different. And this connection, as it is, does not support my peace. Detachment from people also includes those you stay connected to. It means not tying your entire sense of self to any single relationship. It means you do not collapse your world into one person, whether romantic, familial, or friendship. You cultivate multiple sources of meaning: your work, your interests, your solitude, your other connections. This diversification of emotional investment is not cold, it is sane. If one pillar of your life shakes, the whole structure does not fall. Over time, as you practice detachment, you will notice a strange shift. Your relationships become cleaner. You no longer cling out of fear. You no longer tolerate disrespect just to avoid being alone. You no longer shapeshift to keep people close. Instead, you show up as you are, and you allow others to choose whether they can meet you there. Some will fall away. Those who remain will relate to the real you, not to your performance. That is the quiet gift of detachment. It filters your life. You are not obligated to keep people close at the cost of your sanity. You are not cruel for stepping back from dynamics that drain you. You are not unloving for choosing your peace. Detachment is not the death of love. It is the end of self-abandonment in the name of love.
Chapter 7. Detaching from outcomes. Every goal, every dream, every plan you have carries a shadow. The fear of what will happen if it does not unfold exactly as you imagine. You want the job, the relationship, the achievement, the change. You visualize it, work toward it, attach to it. Then, quietly, you begin to believe that your worth, your future, and your identity are tied to that specific outcome. This is how you slip into bondage to things that have not even happened yet. You know the feeling. A plan begins to wobble and anxiety spikes. A project encounters obstacles and you interpret it as a sign that you are not good enough. Someone hesitates to commit and you feel it as a verdict on your desirability. The outcome becomes a mirror and you stare into it, waiting to see who you are. The truth is harsh and liberating. You do not control outcomes. You influence them. You participate in them. You do not own them. Most people understand this intellectually, but live as if the opposite were true. They obsess over results, measurements, and timelines. They over-identify with success and failure as if each outcome were a final judgment on their value. This is attachment. It turns every step on your path into a test, every delay into doom. The cost is enormous. Attachment crushes your ability to stay present. Instead of focusing on the process, the daily actions you can control, you fixate on the result, the part you cannot fully dictate. You give your power away to circumstances, timelines, and other people's decisions. Your motivation rises and falls with external events. Emotional detachment from outcomes begins when you separate what is yours from what is not. What is yours? Your effort, your integrity, your preparation, your choices, your attitude, your response to setbacks. What is not yours? Other people's reactions, unexpected events, timing, exact results. When you tie your emotional state to what is not yours, you sign up for chronic anxiety. Detachment asks you to shift your focus from guarantees to direction, from "will this work out exactly as I want?" to "am I acting in alignment with who I want to be?" From "what will I get?" to "how am I showing up?" This does not mean you give up on goals or stop caring about results. It means you stop worshiping them. Practically, this looks like setting goals in terms of actions rather than outcomes. Instead of "I must get this job," you set "I will apply with excellence, prepare thoroughly, and show up fully present." Instead of "this relationship must last," you choose "I will communicate honestly, love consistently, and honor my own boundaries." Instead of "this project must succeed," you commit to "I will do the work, learn from feedback, and adjust as needed." Then you detach. You accept that once you have done your part, the rest is not under your command. You let reality respond in its own time. This can feel like a loss of control, because it is. But it reveals a deeper truth. The control you thought you had was always an illusion. Detachment from outcomes is also a protection against paralysis. When you are obsessed with getting it perfect, with ensuring success, you often do nothing. You delay. You plan endlessly. You wait for the moment when you can guarantee a certain result. That moment never comes. Outcomes are always uncertain. By detaching, you free yourself to act in the presence of uncertainty. You say, "I do not know how this will turn out. I will move anyway." Action first, emotion later. Identity over outcome. You will still feel disappointed when things don't go your way. Detachment doesn't erase human emotion. It simply stops you from turning disappointment into self-destruction. When something fails, you feel the sting, you grieve if needed, and then you ask, "What is my next right action?" You do not spiral into narratives about your worth. You also stop bargaining with life. Attachment often shows up as silent deals. If I do everything right, life must reward me. If I am kind, I must be loved. If I work hard, I must succeed. When reality doesn't match these hidden contracts, you feel betrayed. You become resentful, cynical, or desperate. Detachment accepts that life does not operate on your bargains. You act well because of who you are, not as a strategy to force specific outcomes. Ironically, detaching from outcomes often makes your outcomes better. When your energy is not consumed by fear of failure, you can focus more fully. When your worth is not on the line, you take healthier risks. When your mood is not swinging with every small win or loss, you are steadier and more effective. Your identity must shift from someone who needs things to go a certain way to someone who stays aligned no matter how things go. Remind yourself regularly, my job is the input. Life's job is the output. This is not passivity. This is clarity. You show up. You do the work. You love. You speak truth. You respect yourself. Then you let outcomes be outcomes. Emotional detachment from results does not make you careless. It makes you free. Free to act without constant fear. Free to learn from what happens instead of being destroyed by it. Free to enjoy the process instead of contracting around the finish line. You will hope. You will still prefer certain outcomes. That is human. But your hope will no longer be a tight fist around your throat. It will be an open hand extended toward life, ready to receive what comes, or to release it if it passes. Chapter 8. Stillness in the Storm. There are days when everything feels like too much. Messages, demands, expectations, disappointments, old wounds triggered by new events. Your mind becomes loud, your chest tight, your thoughts rapid and repetitive. You are in the storm. Most people try to escape this state by reaching for something external. Distractions, soothing behaviors, more conversations, more drama, more stimulation. The storm outside matches the storm inside, and in a strange way, that feels easier than facing the quiet. Emotional detachment asks you to do something different, to become still in the middle of the chaos. Stillness is not the absence of noise, it is the decision not to be moved by it. It is an inner posture, a way of sitting in your own experience without flinching, without reaching, without reacting. It is the eye of the storm. You may think this is impossible for you, that you are not the type of person who can be calm. That is a story. You have practiced being reactive. You can practice being still. Stillness begins with the body. When your emotions surge, your body responds, heart racing, muscles tightening, breath shortening. If you try to calm your mind while ignoring your body, you will struggle. Your nervous system needs a different signal. When you notice the storm rising, do something deceptively simple. Stop moving for a moment. Feel your feet on the ground or your body on the chair. Notice the points of contact, solidity beneath you. Then lengthen your exhale. Not dramatic deep breaths, just a slightly slower, longer exhale than usual. Inhale naturally, exhale slowly. This sends a message to your nervous system. We are not in immediate danger. Your mind will resist. It will insist that you must fix, react, explain, check, respond. It will present 1,000 urgent thoughts. Let them come. Stillness is not about having no thoughts. It is about not climbing onto each one. Imagine your thoughts as waves hitting a shore. In stillness, you are not the wave. You are the shore. The wave crashes, recedes, another arrives. You feel the impact, but you remain. You can support this by giving your mind one simple anchor, your breath, the sensation in your hands, a phrase like, "This is a feeling, not a fact." Each time you drift into the storm, you gently return to the anchor, not with violence, not with frustration, just with steady repetition. This is discipline. It will feel boring compared to the high of emotional chaos. That boredom is a good sign. It means you're stepping out of the drama. Stillness also means not feeding the storm with analysis. When you are highly activated, your thoughts are rarely accurate. They are colored by fear, pain, and past experiences. Trying to figure everything out in that state is like trying to navigate in thick fog. You will go in circles. Detachment means delaying interpretation. You tell yourself, I do not need to decide what this means right now. I do not need to act on every thought. I will return to this when the storm is past. This is not avoidance. It is wisdom about timing. As you practice stillness, you'll encounter discomforts you have been avoiding. Loneliness, grief, shame, emptiness. These are often buried under your constant motion and emotional noise. When they surface, your instinct will be to distract yourself. Instead, see if you can sit with them for just a little longer. Tell yourself, I can feel this for one more minute. Then another. You are training your capacity to be with yourself without abandoning or numbing. The more you do this, the less afraid you become of your own inner world. The storms will still come, but they will no longer feel like existential threats. They will be weather patterns, intense, sometimes frightening, but temporary and survivable. Stillness does not mean inaction. It means that your actions arise from clarity, not from panic. After you have given yourself time to calm, to breathe, to let the intensity drop even slightly, you can then ask, what is the next small, grounded step I can take? Not the grand solution, just the next small step.
Maybe it is sending a simple, honest message instead of a long, emotional one. Maybe it is writing down your thoughts instead of acting on them. Maybe it is doing a basic task, cleaning, showering, walking, to give your body a sense of forward motion. Stillness is not passivity. It is poised power. In time, as you practice this, people around you will notice. While others escalate, you remain composed. While others rush to react, you wait and respond. While others are swept away by drama, you seem anchored. This is not because you don't feel. It is because you have learned to be the shore, not the wave. This inner quiet does not arrive all at once. It is built in the small moments when you choose to sit, to breathe, to delay reaction, to let emotions wash through without turning them into immediate action. Each of those moments is a vote for your detachment. You will still be shaken sometimes. You will still be pulled into storms that surprise you. In those moments, do not judge yourself. Simply return to what you know. Feet on the ground, breath in your body, awareness in the present. Action delayed until clarity returns. Emotional detachment without stillness is fragile. It will break under pressure. Stillness turns your detachment into something solid, not an escape from life, but a calm center from which you can finally live it.
Chapter 9. Building a Detached Identity. Up to this point, you have been practicing detachment through individual choices, pausing, setting boundaries, letting go of outcomes, sitting in stillness. These practices matter, but lasting change happens when they stop being techniques you remember and become expressions of who you are. Your identity is the quiet story you believe about yourself. I am someone who always gets attached. I am dramatic. I am weak around certain people. I am anxious. These beliefs are not just descriptions, they are instructions. They tell your mind how to behave. They define what you tolerate from yourself. If you keep the identity of someone who is ruled by emotion, your detachment will always feel like an act, a temporary performance. Under pressure, you will default to who you believe you are. The truth is, you are not someone who is bad at detachment. You are someone who has practiced attachment more than detachment. That is all. What is practiced can be unpracticed. What is learned can be unlearned. Building a detached identity begins with choosing a different story. This is not about affirmations you do not believe. It is about naming qualities you are genuinely willing to embody, then proving them to yourself through action. You might say, I am someone who respects my own boundaries. I am someone who stays calm under pressure. I am someone who can love without losing myself. Even if you do not fully feel this yet, you can choose it as your direction. Identity is built through repetition. Each time you act in alignment with this new story, you cast a vote for it. Not grand acts, but small, consistent ones. You say no when you would usually say yes. Vote for I respect my boundaries. You wait 10 minutes before responding to a triggering message. Vote for I stay calm under pressure. You choose not to check someone's social media even though you are tempted. Vote for I can love without losing myself. At first, the old identity will fight back. Your mind will say, this is not you. You are overthinking. You are being cold. You are going to lose people. This is natural. You are withdrawing from a long-term identity addiction. It will try to pull you back with familiar fears. This is where discipline and patience must combine. You keep voting. You keep acting in line with the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. You accept that your feelings will lag behind your choices. Identity leads, emotion follows. Your environment must also reflect this new identity. If you surround yourself with constant drama, arguments, gossip, crises, you are telling your nervous system that chaos is normal. If your time is consumed by comparisons and emotional triggers, your identity as a detached, grounded person will struggle to take root.
You do not need a perfect environment. You need a supportive one. That may mean spending less time with people who pull you into old patterns. It may mean creating physical spaces that feel calm and orderly, a tidy room, a quiet corner. It may mean building routines that support stillness, regular time alone, set times away from your phone, consistent sleep. These choices are not superficial. They are signals. They tell your subconscious, we live differently now. You can also use rituals to anchor your identity. Simple, repeated actions that you associate with your detached self. Drinking a glass of water before responding to conflict. Placing your phone in another room at a certain hour. Writing down emotions before discussing them. Each ritual is a small ceremony of your new life. As your detached identity strengthens, you will notice a quiet shift. You begin to feel proud of your restraint, not ashamed of it. Where you once saw your calm as weakness or coldness, you begin to see it as maturity. Where you once equated intensity with depth, you begin to appreciate depth in steadiness. People around you may resist this new you. Some will test your boundaries more aggressively, hoping you will revert. Others will accuse you of caring less, of being different, of having changed. They are right about one thing. You have changed. You are no longer available for the same emotional patterns. This can be lonely. Identity shifts often are. You are leaving behind not only old behaviors, but old versions of yourself that were woven into relationships, habits, and roles. Grieve that if you need to. Then remember, you are not abandoning yourself. You are finally coming home to yourself. A detached identity does not mean you never bend, never compromise, never feel deeply. It means that at your core, you see yourself as someone who remains intact in the face of emotions, people, and outcomes. You no longer confuse your storms with yourself. When you introduce yourself to yourself, what if you quietly thought, I am the calm center of my own life? Not loudly, not as a performance, but as a private truth you are building. Every day, you will face choices that either reinforce or weaken that truth. You will not choose perfectly. No one does. But direction matters more than perfection. As long as you keep coming back to the path, observing, pausing, setting boundaries, releasing outcomes, sitting in stillness, you are living as this new person, not just imagining them. Eventually, you will notice that detachment is no longer something you do, it is something you are.
Chapter 10. Living Light. Becoming the Calm Center. There comes a quieter moment after enough repetitions when you realize something has shifted. The message arrives later than you hoped, and your heart flutters, but you do not spiral. A plan falls apart, and you feel disappointed, but you do not collapse. Someone pulls away, and you feel the grief, but you do not chase. You are still you. You still feel, but you are no longer drowning in every emotion that passes through. This is what it means to live light. Living light is not about having no attachments at all. It is about holding everything and everyone with an open hand. You care, you love, you commit, you show up fully, but you do not grip so tightly that losing anything would mean losing yourself. You have practiced seeing your attachments, naming your hidden payoffs, separating your identity from your emotions, widening the gap between stimulus and response, building boundaries, accepting people as they are, releasing outcomes, and cultivating stillness. Each of these practices has been a thread. Together, they weave a new way of being. Life will not reward you with constant ease just because you have done this work. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still change. Emotions will still surge unexpectedly. The difference now is that you are not surprised by this. You do not feel personally attacked by reality. You expect challenges and you trust your ability to remain yourself in the middle of them. You have moved from victim to owner, from this is just how I am
to these are patterns I once practiced and I choose differently now. From my feelings decide my actions to my values decide my actions. From I am at the mercy of others to I am responsible for my own peace. Awareness gave you the first glimpses of your patterns. Choice allowed you to interrupt them. Repetition built new habits. Those habits shaped your identity, and that identity is shaping your destiny. You will still have days when the old self appears, when you overreact, overthink, overattach. Do not turn these moments into proof that you have failed. See them as echoes, old reflexes firing in a new system. Notice them, take responsibility where needed, and return to your practices. Detachment is not a finish line, it is a way of walking. As you live from this calm center, you may notice unexpected changes. Your relationships become simpler, there is less drama, fewer tests, more straightforward conversations. Some connections quietly fade, others deepen, built on mutual respect rather than silent contracts and emotional bargaining. Your work changes. You bring more presence, less anxiety. You focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. You take risks without being paralyzed by possible outcomes. You recover from setbacks faster. Your inner world, once dominated by constant noise, gains stretches of quiet. Not empty numbness, but spaciousness. The capacity to sit in a room alone and feel okay. The ability to enjoy small, ordinary moments without needing intensity. This does not make you superior. It makes you available to life, to love, to purpose, without being consumed by any of it. Living light also means you extend to others the same freedom you have claimed for yourself. You allow people to come and go, to choose and unchoose, to be as they are. You stop trying to manage their growth, their healing, their timing. You offer support, but you release control. You do not cling to roles that require your self-abandonment. You become someone who can be close without being entangled, present without being possessed, committed without being controlled. There is responsibility in this. When you can no longer blame your emotional storms on others, you must continually own your choices. You must apologize when you slip. You must adjust when you notice yourself sliding back toward old patterns. This humility keeps your detachment from becoming arrogance or apathy. Remember always, emotional detachment is not indifference. It is clear, disciplined love of yourself and of others. It is the refusal to let fear, need, or habit dictate your life. It is the brave choice to stay open-hearted and grounded in a world that pulls you toward extremes. From here, your practice continues in ordinary ways. You wake up, notice how you feel, and choose your actions based on your values, not your mood. You encounter people's pain and problems, and you offer what you can without carrying what is not yours. You set goals, move toward them, and accept what unfolds. You feel deeply, and you let feelings move through without building prisons around them. You will not do this perfectly, no one does. Perfection is not the goal, direction is. Each day, you have the same simple opportunity to live as the calm center of your own life, or to hand that center to someone or something else. You know now what the cost of that handover is. You have felt it. You have also tasted the steadiness of holding your center for yourself. The choice is yours, moment by moment, breath by breath, decision by decision. You are not your emotions. You are not your attachments. You are not your outcomes. You are the one who notices, chooses, and acts. You are the one who can remain while everything else moves. This is the art of emotional detachment, not an escape from life, but a way of finally meeting it as you are, grounded, present, and free.